Welcome to this Killick Explains video, and this week I want to take on a fairly key topic, especially for people not sure whether or not they need an advisor per se when it comes to their money, and that is, why do the best advisors out there spend a bit of time getting to know their clients? From a client's point of view, it can seem a bit annoying sometimes, but actually it's pretty important, and it's something that you should want, frankly, before engaging somebody. Now, if you think about it, if we choose, as we have to from time to time, a doctor or dentist, we want them to find out certain things before treating us. You know, who we are, what our medical history is, what do we want out of the relationship, if you like, and what are our sort of treatment preferences in terms of when they intervene and when they don't. All right. So given that, and given that an advisor is somebody looking after your hard-earned money, what sort of information should an advisor request? And I would say that it falls into certain key categories. Number one, proof that I am who I say I am. And number two, I can vouch for the origin of the money that I'm potentially going to hand over to be managed, let's say. And those are absolutely crucial because anti-money laundering regulations require that those two are done as a minimum. But that's not really enough. I mean, if I take on a new dentist, for argument's sake, they're difficult to get on the NHS, so maybe a private one, I'd hope they'd ask a few more questions than just, are you Tim Bennett and can you prove that? And where did the money come from you're about to pay for your treatment with? I'd hope they might go a bit further. And same for financial advisors. So what sorts of things might they ask me about? Well, personal information. You know, what is it I'm hoping to achieve? What are my lifetime goals, if you like? How much do I already know about markets, about products, about what advisors do? How much experience have I got? And those two are not the same thing. Knowing lots of stuff and being able to use it successfully are different skills. Experience is important. And what's my personal tolerance for risk? Some people, rightly or wrongly, are pretty gung-ho about risk and might need that sort of mitigating a bit in conversation, if you like. Other people are deeply, deeply cautious and perhaps need persuading that if they remain deeply cautious, they may not achieve their lifetime goals, and so it goes on. So personal information is important, and then financial information, vitally important too. So I would expect someone to ask me, Tim, where does your income come from? All right, because it does matter. Let's think about some different sources. Am I getting a defined benefit, inflation-linked pension? That's a fairly safe form of income, okay? LDI stuff that's going around the bond market at the moment, notwithstanding. Am I a buy-to-letter? So am I relying on a property for my main source of income? Am I relying on a single stock dividend? That would be a highly risky thing to do. But the point being, those are just examples, that you may just ask the question, how much money does Tim Bennett earn? But actually there's risk in different categories of income, and that's important for someone who's going to give me some advice, for example. And then how much am I spending on, say, a monthly basis? You know, am I managing to save any money? Yes or no? So in other words, is the challenge reducing the speed at which I go into debt every month or boosting the amount that I save? Do I have any protection in place? I mean, have I thought about what would happen if I lose my income and suddenly can't afford my expenditure? All right. And then, what do I own? All right. How much of a financial cushion have I got behind me? And linked to that, who else depends on me? Because if I first meet an advisor, for example, they might assume I'm just looking after Tim Bennett, but perhaps I've got a string of financial dependents, and that's important. That needs to be woven into the picture. Now you might say this makes an advisor a little bit nosy, but actually these are all required by the regulator quite sensibly under the Know Your Customer rules. So commercially it makes sense anyway, and the regulator is in line with that commercial thinking in terms of the way the rule book works. All right, and let's think about, you know, what are the benefits from Tim Bennett's point of view? Well, hidden risks. All right, I mean, I might be, as far as the advisor is concerned, a bit of a crook. That's where the anti-money laundering regulations kick in. Am I who I say I am? Can I vouch for where my money's come from? But there are other risks too. You don't know what you don't know. All right. In other words, by having a conversation, an advisor might be able to tease out that actually I don't really understand the impact of short-term volatility. I'm the kind of person that's going to panic sell the moment the market takes a bit of a dip, and that's not a good thing. I might be over-concentrated. I might not have realised that I've got a heck of a lot of capital with one company. So what I mean by that is my pension is provided by the same company that I have share options with and that I rely on for my monthly salary, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And there are tax issues I may never have thought of. The interaction between capital gains tax and inheritance tax, for example, income tax and capital gains tax, and so it goes on. And those are just 3 examples of you don't know what you don't know type issues. Okay? I may not have a financial plan in place. I mean, have I properly sat down as conditions start to worsen, the backdrop gets harder, and sorted out my rainy day emergency fund, identified foreseeable calls on capital and thought about how I'm going to fund them? You know, would bonds, for example, fill that hole quite nicely? And then my lifetime savings, are they working hard enough? That's the stuff I'm not going to touch. Is that working hard enough in the equity market, for example? And perhaps in making those choices, so cash rainy day funds, bonds, foreseeable calls on capital as a suggestion, equities for lifetime savings, have I properly considered risk? Because maybe I'm holding everything in cash because I don't really understand price risk. That's the risk of things going up and down. But then there's liquidity risk. That's the danger I can't get my money out of a property fund or a bond fund because it's been gated, for argument's sake. And then there's counterparty risk. And every now and again, an advisor does have to weigh up the possibility that you don't get your money back at all and mitigate it. That's the point. Okay? So am I able ultimately to absorb losses? You know, a lot of people think, yes, if the market drops 25%, I will stay calm, I will stay sanguine. And then one day it actually happens and suddenly they jettison all that calm, rational stuff and panic and sell. And that completely scuppers their financial plan. And an advisor can sort of kick the tires on that sort of stuff. Okay? So in essence, the more someone knows about you, whether they're a doctor, a dentist, a builder, or a financial advisor, the better, generally speaking, the job they're going to do for you. It's as simple as that. Now, to find out more about what is quite a big topic, please do dive into my comprehensive video library, killick.com/learn. And then if you'd like to just read more slowly all about this kind of stuff, there is a set of guides, editor@killick.com, 6 of those available, and of course, our quarterly flagship magazine, Confidant, once again, editor@killick.com.